What is up, you awesome kisters? This is CistReactZ guys. Today we're reacting to Game Theory. This 10-year-old detail solves Five Nights at Freddy's. So make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe to the Game Theorist, and comment down below. By the way, make sure you guys go check out the Murder Drones the Murder Drones finale reaction that I posted last night. And make sure you guys go check out my Minecraft mod review video and go post a Minecraft mod you would like me to review. I started out on a FNAF mod called Management Wanted, and it was pretty awesome. Anyway, let's get into this bop.
Take a look at this footage from FNAF 2. Seems normal enough, right? But what if I told you that the Mimic is in this video? No, I'm not lying to you. And no, I've not doctored the footage either. The Mimic is here. They have been here since the very beginning. Give up? Well, if you look very closely, you'll find that the Mimic is this guy right here. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, the show that cannot believe it has been 10 whole years of FNAF. Feels like just yesterday I was watching Markiplier scream at this tiny unknown indie game, and now it's an indie horror empire full of games, movies, books, and more merch than a Pizzaplex can handle. 10 years is a big deal. Believe me, we would know. And so to celebrate, demos, book, though while that video is coming, I just need a special theorist surprise in store, hint hint. But for this episode, instead of talking about the biggest release of the week, I wanted to talk about the biggest surprise. You see, we knew about every release that was happening during this anniversary week ahead of time. That was except for one. Steel Wool had a mystery announcement slot, and a lot of us just assumed it was going to be DLC for Help Wanted 2, but that's not what we got. Instead, Steel Wool completely sideswiped us by revealing a 40-second teaser, not for DLC, but for a brand new game. We open on a 70s style carpet. The camera tilts up to reveal a Jack-in-the-Box playing music. The music stops, the box opens, and we hear a laugh as a clown mask peeks out from the box. The film reel we're watching begins to burn up, revealing the date 1979. Finally, we see a title card appear from the darkness, Secret of the Mimic. The internet lost their collective minds over this. Not only were we getting a game exploring the character that was a complete mystery when it appeared at the end of Ruin, unless you happen to read the books, but it was also going to be a prequel, set before any other FNAF game. A lot of us have been theorizing about the origins of Freddy's ever since we got the Fredbear Singing Show ticket in Security Breach, and in 2025, it looks like we're gonna see if we were right. But you know what? I'm not willing to wait that long. Call me impatient, but when you take a closer look, this 40-second teaser has actually told us a lot more than you'd initially think. This teaser confirms that we were right that the Mimic is from the earliest days in Fazbear Entertainment's history, but it also suggests that the Mimic's first appearance wasn't in Ruin, nor was it Security Breach, nor was it Help Wanted. No, we are being shown that the Mimic has actually been hiding in plain sight since the very beginning. The pieces were in place for us to figure it out. We just weren't able to follow the breadcrumb, or should I say, paper trail to realize sooner. So wind up that music box, friends, because when it opens, we'll be diving in head first to see what secrets the Mimic has been hiding. And in doing so, I believe we may finally be able to resolve one of the biggest conflicts currently facing the FNAF timeline.
A wound first inflicted on me.
Oh yeah, today's gonna be a big one. So, let's get into it. The first thing we gotta talk about is the design of Funky Tom over here. Jokey fan name aside, given the title of this game, it feels pretty unlikely that this is supposed to be anything other than the Mimic. But he's not the disheveled Endo we saw in Ruin. Now he's wearing a white mask with exaggerated eyelashes, rounded cheeks, and a bright red nose. Ugh, I can feel the childhood trauma rushing back. It also pops out of a Jack-in-the-Box, so clearly Steel Wool are going for a clown aesthetic with this newest version of the Mimic. Or is it the oldest version? This new old look does tie into our previous theories about the origins of Fazbear Entertainment. In that video, we discussed this poster from Help.
I waited for 4 minutes for him to elaborate on like what the fuck did he mean that the paper pals are actually the damn Mimic. I thought at this point he already had said it, but I guess he's gonna. I guess he did a thing where like he talked about the end of the video first and then like is going on a whole video essay about it. How the fuck are the paper pals the Mimic? What? I was not talking just so I could let him cook, but I didn't think he would like spend like 4 minutes talking around it.
Wanted 2. A poster with a circus tent and the date 1970 on it. That, along with the mascot costumes
I
in
can't
the
be
ruined
quiet
basement,
for the bit
witchtrap
for a long
design, official
time.
artwork of traditional mascot costumes, and references throughout the books all seem to be telling us that Fazbear Entertainment didn't start with the creation of Fredbear's Family Diner, but as a traveling circus. Instead of the animatronics or springlock suits that we know and love today, this circus used more traditional, rudimentary mascot costumes. They were still the same characters, Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica, but played by human performers.
Jesus.
Though there was one exception. We ended that theory suggesting
That drawing
that
looks
the Mimic
terrifying.
was also part of that same Fazbear circus. It shares design similarities with Sun
You know
and
what?
Moon,
It kind of
Jester.
looks like a clown nose does belong right there, you know?
Same Fazbear circus.
When you actually put it
shares
there.
design similarities with Sun and Moon, a jester who was associated with the carousel from the Fall Fest circus. A carousel
Looks
that
so
we
terrifying,
watched
bro.
burn. Repeatedly in Help Wanted 2, we see the festival burn down, both in the carousel level and in the Fazablast level. And what else do we know is burnt? The Mimic. In the first epilogue of Tales from the Pizzaplex, when the Mimic arrives, it is first described as being burnt. Thus, it seems like the Mimic has been here since that Fall Fest in the 70s.
Why is it always a
You might
fire
think I
with
was
Fazbear, man?
celebrating this fact. My first FNAF theory was right. Let's go! But then, the worry began to sink in. It always feels a bit wrong when a prequel introduces a new character. Plus, this franchise never gets rid of characters. We've had 28 versions of Freddy, 19 versions
28?
of Bonnie, and we even got 11 versions of Balloon Boy. Who
Jesus.
asked for that? So then, why try to awkwardly
I never even,
insert the
counted or
Mimic
thought
into
about
the
it.
previous lore? I mean, retcon much? Except, what if I told you we have seen this clown before? Somewhere you'd never suspect.
God,
Nah,
come on, talk
I am,
about
of
it,
course, talking about
damn!
the
Yo, I've been here on recording for 7 minutes waiting to hear it. Jesus, we finally got to it. Damn! I don't think I've ever, watched a game theory and they, said the idea, but, they haven't got straight to it. It felt like he said the idea twice and we haven't even heard it yet. Damn!
I've been teasing
Stop
since the
edging
start
me!
of the episode. The Paper Pals. No, I wasn't joking. These guys really are the key to everything. If you don't know who I'm talking about, the Paper Pals are these simple characters made from paper plates that have been hanging out on the walls of pizzerias ever since their introduction. To this day, we've never really given them much thought. They never seem to be that important, but their continued existence in the franchise has always struck me as unusual. In fact, the only reason I was reminded of them is because I was watching Dorko's playthrough of Into the Pit, and wouldn't you know it, they are once again just hanging out. For them to keep showing up, especially in these modern titles, they have to be important. And I think the weird clown mimic is the piece that ties them all together. Originally, there were 3 of these guys. A Freddy pal, a Bonnie pal, and this thing. According to the game files, he's just called Paper Buddy. And of the 3, he's definitely the weird one. In FNAF 2, he could just disappear from the wall and suddenly appear in your office. He didn't do anything.
Wait,
he was
seriously?
Just there now. Even his design feels out of place. The other 2 are clearly characters we know, Freddy and Bonnie, duh. But this guy doesn't have any recognizable features. He's got red arms, blue legs, a big smile, and a big nose. It's just so weird.
He's
in
not...
a series full of...
So that's what we're going with this? This could be a paper pal based on the Mimic's suit?
Animal characters. Why have this generic humanoid-looking thing? Naturally, the only logical explanation we had at the time was that this had to be Balloon Boy. He was one of the few humanoid characters we knew about by FNAF 2, and he wears a red and blue outfit. But now that I'm looking back, I'm not so sure.
It doesn't have the cheeks, and the arms are different.
Just relying on the colors to show us who they are.
Why does Bonnie have one eye?
Details that connect them to their iconic characters. Bow ties, hats, ears, that sort of thing. If this Paper Buddy was supposed to be Balloon Boy, why not give him some of his iconic attire? Like the propeller hat, or the sign, or, a balloon, the thing
or the,
he is
the
literally
cheeks?
known for. What this therefore implies to me is that Paper Buddy is actually supposed to be someone else. Someone with a much simpler design.
I love the outline.
The answer of who becomes extremely obvious when you take a look at their appearance in FNAF world. That's right, not
Has a
only were these
nose,
guys
a red
considered
nose.
important enough to be playable characters in one of the weirdest entries in this series, but Scott also used it to give us a vital clue about who this guy was supposed to be. And it's all because of one teeny tiny design change. We've gone over Paper Buddy's design already. The red arms, blue legs, buttons, big smile, happy eyes, big nose. All of that is the same in FNAF World, except for his nose. It's still as big as before and it's in the same place,
But it's
the
red.
color is now different. It's been changed to red. And a red nose means one thing: clowns. What we're seeing is Paper Buddy's design matching exactly with the iconic design of clowns, and therefore also matches what we've seen from the Mimic in this latest teaser. Now, I recognize that this feels like a stretch. This is all down to interpretation and could be taken a number of different ways. Believe me, I was honestly unsure of all of this.
I gotta see what he's
That
cooking
wasn't
right
until
now.
I found this, the final clue that absolutely sealed the deal for me that Paper Buddy is the Mimic. Take a look at the attacks the Paper Pals have in FNAF World. The first two are
I
prideful
swear to God, if Mimic Ball is a part of their fucking
mystery box 2. Both generic attacks
Mimic Ball.
that would make sense for any character in any pizzeria. But the third and final attack is called something very specific.
The Mimic Ball. Oh my
Move
God.
that mimics the
What? I
last
didn't even know that.
use.
I was playing FNAF
could
World recently.
not believe it when I saw this. Of all of the games, it was FNAF World showing us that the Paper Pals were specifically able to mimic others. The third Paper Pal from FNAF 2, Paper Buddy, is a paper version of the new clown mimic that we saw in the teaser. In my previous theory, I mentioned how FNAF 2 isn't a revamp of the old franchise, but a callback to the circus origins of the franchise. The red-cheeked toy animatronics.
You wanna know something? I wonder if he'll mention the fact that I think Shadow Bonnie in the game too, like, has a Mimic Ball. I wonder if he's gonna say something like, the shadow on the wall actually wasn't Shadow Bonnie, it was actually the Mimic learning. I forgot what Shadow Freddy has in the game. I think he only has like all insta-kills attacks, but Shadow Bonnie definitely has a Mimic Ball too.
Calling back to the original costumes worn at the circus. You have the
It's not even
carousel
called Shadow
calling
Bonnie,
back
it's
to
called
the
like
carousel
RD something.
from Fall Fest that we got to see in Help Wanted 2. And now we have Paper Buddy, calling back to the clown mimic that was present at that same circus. It all just fits together so neatly. It could also explain the clown mask in things like Sister Location, the one that would later go on to become Ennard. Why is that mask in such a position of prominence? Because it was the third member of that original circus trio, someone who had been there since the beginning. Although, speaking of trio,
Imagine if the
while
Mimic
Paper
was
Buddy
using
being
Ennard's
the
mask.
Mimic and appearing in FNAF 2 makes sense, him
For
being
Ennard's mask.
grouped with Freddy and Bonnie feels a bit odd, right? Even for the early days of the franchise, a clown isn't the obvious one to pair with Freddy and Bonnie. Chica I'd have understood, maybe even Foxy. But this guy is just so random. If you've followed us for a while, you'll know that we are obsessed with these kinds of details. The grouping of animatronics through merchandise or decor can often tell us a lot about the history of the franchise. We felt like Foxy had to come later because he had a separate stage to the other three. It felt like Chica wasn't originally part of the group either because she had her own Party World spin-off during
Chica's
Sister
Party
Location.
World.
And in Ruin, we figured out that Sun and Moon came much earlier because they were getting collectibles alongside OG characters, while newcomers like Roxy and Monty weren't. So placing the Mimic Clown alongside Freddy and Bonnie has to imply there's a special connection between the three. So why make the Mimic the awkward third wheel alongside this famous duo? Well, it turns out the rule of threes isn't just an important literary technique. It was also super important for performances at the circus, particularly when it comes to clowns. In a traditional circus, you would have three major clown archetypes: the Auguste Clown, the White-Faced Clown, and the
Auguste?
Contra-Auguste Clown. We spoke about the Auguste Clown in our previous
The white face clown? What other fucking color? I've never seen a damn clown that's not been like painted white.
theory. These clowns were the ones with red cheeks that were designed to appear silly and make children laugh.
What the hell?
Often they were portrayed as an intelligent but
What's it
lower
called
class
that?
clown. The laborer. The one who would do a job, often badly, which led to them getting a pie in the face or falling off a ladder. You know, the typical slapstick stuff. The white-faced clowns, on the other hand, are supposed to be more serious and bossy. They were of a higher status, and so they would be responsible for assigning the tasks to the August clown and would often become frustrated at their failed results. Finally, you have the contra-August clown, who was the middle ground. Still lower class than the white-faced clown, but not to the same degree as the August clown. And looking into clown literature, which, yes, is a thing that I read, the contra-August role was to do one thing: mimic the white-faced clown. No, I'm not making that up. It was right there on the page in front of me. What we now have are three distinct characters.
This nigga read clown history and put it in the video. Five Nights at Freddy's has got us out here looking for clown history. Oh my god. Like, if you told me, like, back in, like, 2015 that, oh yeah, Game Theory is gonna be looking at, like, clown lore to integrate Five Nights at Freddy's, I'd probably laugh at you.
A serious boss
or to
clown,
integrate it into a FNAF theory,
clown, and a mimicking clown. Now, look at who we have at the start of Freddy's. While we don't know a whole lot about the specifics of this Fazbear circus, we do know one thing. Henry and William were actively performing during the early days of the franchise.
I can't wait to see Henry and William in the next game.
One as a rabbit, Fredbear and Spring Bonnie. William was the businessman, the serious one, the guy who was trying to make Fazbear a success, the white-faced clown. Then there's Henry, the intelligent laborer who was building the animatronics, the August clown. And now we have a third, Paper Buddy, the Mimic, a clown animatronic that has been there since the early days of the franchise,
I don't know why that's funny.
mimicking the past actions of the white-faced clown, William Afton, making them the contra-August in this trio. Three clowns, three performers, three paper pals that have been there since the start. But sadly, choosing Afton to be the one to mimic wasn't the best decision. When this trailer was announced, Brian Freyamuth, the design director at Steel Wool, tweeted about it saying, "The evil that men do lives after them. The good is oft interred with their bones." This is a quote from Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. My immediate reaction was, oh yeah, this is about Afton being dead, and now here's evil lives on in the Mimic, who is now continuing to hurt and kill people beyond his death. Like we've been predicting this whole time. But as I've thought it over, I think it might be something more than that. I actually think that this line is telling us the main plot point that we will see in Secret of the Mimic. A plot point that will finally answer the question that has haunted me ever since the release of Help Wanted 2. What did Henry mean by a wound first inflicted on me? This line comes from the insanity.
I always thought that just meant his daughter died first.
About how Afton used the souls of the children he'd killed to create Remnant, and then continued to torture them to create the fun times. But the most important part of that monologue is when he turns inwards and begins reflecting on his own part in all of this. He ends up saying he needs to heal this wound, a wound first inflicted on me, one that I let bleed out. For the longest time, we believed this was referencing Afton killing his daughter, Charlie. She was Afton's first.
I assume that's what it actually means, honestly.
Of all the missing children.
So that's the only thing it could mean.
That was inflicted on Henry, the death of his own daughter, that then bled out to the death of so many others. But then Help Wanted 2 came out, and it flipped that entire idea on its head. In that game, we had to light 6 gravestones in a specific order to receive the secret Bonnie mask. Each grave had a different puppet next to it, each referencing one of the 6 main animatronics: Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, Golden Freddy, and the puppet, the 5 missing children, and Charlie. However, Charlie isn't the first grave you light. She's actually the last one, heavily implying that Charlie was the last to be killed. Honestly, I don't hate it from a lore standpoint. There's a decent amount of evidence that can line up with it, but last one.
You know, it does make sense too that Chica would be the first, as she literally claimed it plenty times.
Heavily implying that Charlie was the last to be killed. Honestly, I don't hate it from a lore standpoint. There's a decent amount of evidence that can line up with it, but by suggesting that, it threw into question that line of a wound first inflicted on me being about Charlie's death. Instead, there had to be an earlier incident that wounded Henry.
I know it's just a theory and all, and hey, I'm not mad. I'm not one of those toxic people that get pissed off over theories. But like, wouldn't that order not make sense? Because wouldn't she have to have died first to put the damn heads on each kid when they died? Ain't that right? Let me know in the comments, right? Because like back in FNAF 2, she put all the original mascots from FNAF 1 on kids' heads, and then they take the bots.
That would metaphorically bleed out, leading to the missing children's incident and the death of Charlie. So, what do I think this event is? Well, it all comes back to that Shakespeare quote. The line that Brian tweeted is delivered by the character Mark Antony at Caesar's funeral. Caesar was murdered by the character Brutus. However, Antony isn't able to death being about Charlie's death. Instead, there had to be an earlier incident that wounded Henry that would metaphorically bleed out, leading to the missing children's incident and the death of Charlie. So, what do I think this event is? Well, it all comes back to that Shakespeare quote. The line that Brian tweeted is delivered by the character Mark Antony at Caesar's funeral. Caesar was murdered by the character Brutus. However, Antony isn't able to directly accuse him publicly. So instead, he tactfully talks around the issue, calling Brutus an honorable man. This dynamic between Antony and Brutus, I suspect, is meant to be a reflection of Henry and Afton. Brutus was able to get close to Caesar because Caesar loved him, which is similar to the tactic used by Afton throughout this series. Put on the Spring Bonnie costume, a character that the children loved, and use it to lure them into a back room and kill them. For this quote to be used to promote the prequel game from 1979, it's telling us that Afton was abusing the love of this character way before the missing children's incident. And this early murder at the hands of Afton is what I believe we will be seeing in Secret of the Mimic. Maybe it will even be revealed as Afton's first. It's unclear if the person Afton kills will be a major character like Caesar is in the play, or whether it's just another kid, with the importance more being how early it is in the timeline. We only have a 40-second trailer after all. Much more is going to be revealed as time goes on. But what is important...
Wouldn't that overcomplicate shit though? Like, if... Well, I don't know, because... Well, I don't know. I mean, if another kid does die in the very, very first game, wouldn't that mean there's somebody else who didn't get freed? And would kind of, like, make us backtrack to the point of freeing another kid? I feel like the first arc of FNAF with possessions and stuff, that shit's over, right? Like, everyone that we've seen was everyone that was killed, or I don't know. It's FNAF.
Is if William is Brutus, Henry must be
It's FNAF. You think it's over, but then it ain't.
He knew William committed the murder. That murder is going to be the wound inflicted on Henry, on the Fazbear business, on their friendship. That murder could have destroyed everything they built. But as we know, it didn't, and Afton would go on to kill again. Because just like Antony, Henry isn't going to accuse him directly. Maybe he was concerned for his business's survival. Maybe he was concerned about providing for his new daughter, Charlie. Maybe he just wanted to believe his friend could change. But whatever his reasoning, despite the wound Afton caused him, he never came out and admitted what he knew. He just allowed it to keep going, allowed Afton to keep killing. English philosopher John Stuart Mill once said, "A person may cause evil to others, not only by his actions, but by his inaction. And in either case, he is justly accountable to them for the injury." That is why he feels so guilty in the insanity speech, because he knows that his inaction in that moment from the circus led to the creation of not one, not two, but 3 monsters. William, the yellow rabbit that would go on to kill so many children, the clown that was designed to mimic Afton, now carrying on his horrible legacy, and himself, the man who stood by and let the first murder happen, leading to the deaths of so many others, including his own daughter. I guess at the end of the day, they really were the perfect trio. But hey, I think we can all agree that we've got a lot
That's
to look
just a
forward
theory, a game
so
theory.
many games were demoed or teased
What the
during the
hell?
anniversary. Plus, we still got a bunch of new books and a second movie coming, which means it's gonna cost a pretty penny to keep up with this stuff. Thankfully,
Yeah.
though, the sponsor of today's video is so...
Well, anyway, guys. Okay, I think that's just a sponsor for the video. Y'all can go check that out on Game Theory's video. Sorry about that. Yeah, if you guys want to see more Five Nights at Freddy's theories, make sure you guys hit the like button, comment down below, subscribe for more to Cook History today. Do you think they're cooking with this theory? Do you not think they're cooking? Make sure to keep it civilized and not toxic in the chat, because it is just a game theory. One day I'll be able to say that on their official channel.